Hi everyone, very good morning. Welcome to the ITOM batch 2 day 4. How are you doing guys today?
Doing good. Okay.
Hi Sajid, good. How about others?
Doing good.
Good, Ajay.
Good to hear, thank you. So before starting the today's sessions, I just want to check with you, do you have any questions related to the earlier sessions which we have discussed, are related to data centers, related to CMDB basics and the ITOM module which we have discussed till now?
No questions so far.
Thank you.
Same,
I,
Ajay.
yeah, let's start the discovery basics today, right? So let me share my screen. Let me know once you're able to see my screen. My bad. Yes, this one. I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, Ajay, able to.
Okay, so let's get started. So before starting, I think my screen is already visible. I've already mentioned about the discovery, but I just want to hear from you guys. Do you know what is discovery in simple words if I say? Or anyone knows what is discovery in ServiceNow?
It's discovering configuration items on our network.
Okay,
Same, Ajay. Discovering hardware and software assets or software applications and updating or inserting in CMDB, CI table or respective tables.
okay, right. So basically, in simple words, if I say, that is ServiceNow discovery. But what is discovery, right? So what means in simple words, why we do discovery? I think discovery is just something searching, right? So in common words, if I say we are trying to search the information of anything which we are doing basically, right? So let's take an example. We are going to market and we need to purchase a new car, right? We are starting discovery of it, that particular new car, which car we need to be purchased, what will be that uh, configuration of that particular car, what is the power of it, right, what features he is providing, right, which will suitable for my family, right? End of the day we are trying to search that information, right? The same way ServiceNow discovery is an application which help to find applications and device on our network and then update the CMDB with the information it's find basically, and it utilizing the specific steps or phase process discovery which we called agentless discovery to find the devices, the software applications, software installations, running processes, connecting and supporting CIS, and keep our CMDB to up to date, right? And that is basically ServiceNow discovery is doing, right? So as I mentioned, we are not going to be install any agent on any device to capture or to get that information of the device, right? This is the beauty of ServiceNow discovery. And other market products which is available in the market, that is something, if I say SCCM, if you heard already, right, Intune, JMF, somehow we have to be install some agent on the machines, each machine which we want to be discovered, right? So here we no need to require do that. Somehow if I say agent client collector is also introduced by ServiceNow recently, and that is we can do agent installation and then we can discover. That is something different, but I'm talking about discovery, pure discovery here, where we don't need to install any agent, right? Now the question comes in our mind, then if we are not going to be doing any agent or installation on it, how we are discovering and how we are fetching that particular information from that particular device and putting on, and how my CMDB is going to be up to date, right? So there are basically four phases of the discovery or four goals of the discovery, that how discovery will works basically, right? So number one is scanning, right? It will try to, or it will scan your IT environment for discoverable configuration item. As I already mentioned, we can run discovery only for those devices which is connected to the network. If that device is not connected to the network, or it can be on internet, or it can be on intranet, right? But that should be connected to the network, and we required an IP address to discover that device, right? So in the first phase, what we are doing scanning. So in the simple word, if I say, when we are going to purchase a car, we are trying to scan the the companies, basically from which company we want to be buy a car, and then we are trying to identify which company, which model, or which version we required it, right? 5 seaters, 6 7 seaters, or like Kia Seltos or Maruti Grand Vitara, whatever, right? So we are trying to scan first of all what we want, basically what is good for my family and what is good for me for economically, right? So the same way, ServiceNow Discovery is going to try discover, or sorry, scan the network first of all for configuration items, right? Then it's the second steps comes is classify, right? So it's try to classify device based on the operating systems, right? And to classify operating systems, like I will tell you in the next slides basically what how it's going to be classified. But second is the classification of the device, right? Once my classification done, then we moved out to identify if the device needs updated or created accordingly, right? So ServiceNow Discovery, or the discovery module, trying to assess based on your IRE rules that device we need to create in the CMDB, or that device we need to update based on some criteria. It's trying to it's happening automatically basically, but it's trying to identify based on that particular third step. And fourth is explore. So exploration means it's trying to identify, or it's trying to discover the running processes, relationships to other devices, software installed, like and network gears of the device, and other configuration item or configuration attribute it's trying to discover in the exploration phase, where it's creating the relationships with other devices. The same way as I take an example of car, right? Now you choose the car, like which car you want to be purchased, right? Then you are going to be classify that particular car. You are going to be check, okay, that is the owner, or sorry, that is the company, that is a model which we want to be, I want to be purchased. And then you are going to be trying to classify that one, right? Then identifying, right? So if you have already the same type of car available, you are not going to purchase the same type. You are thinking like, let's purchase something different. Or if you have already same car, you are going to be think like, I don't need car now because I already have it, but the features, that particular features are not there. Let's try to advance that particular features in my recent or earlier car only, right? Then exploration phase, right? So exploration, you are trying to do those particular things what we have to do in that particular car, right? So discovery, just discovering your IT networks, or IT, or sorry, devices which is connected to the network. And there are four phases of the discovery. the scan, classification, identification, and exploration. Right? Any questions in that one, guys, first of all? In the next slides, we are going to be little deep to discuss those particular things, how that will be happening.
So Ajay, I have a question. When we are planning to implement this, so would we install the plugins as an initial step, or how does we start? How do we start it initially?
That is good question. In the next slide, I'm going to be discuss about the pre-req basically.
Okay.
Okay, that is there. So I'm just trying to give the basic information about it, that each thing, and then we'll moving out ahead. Now, why we required accurate and consistent CMDB. If my CMDB is up to date, that will help out for incident resolutions, or fast track the incidents. That will help out to manage my asset management. If my CMDB is up to date, we have relationships between asset CI configuration item to asset, that will be good. That will help out to run my security operations. That will help out for the change management. If anything needs to be deployed, or any upgrade or anything should be happen in my organizations, if my configuration items correct, I can choose the correct configuration items where we need to be implement the change, and if any impact is there, we can select that impacted CI as well. Audit and compliance and automations. If my CMDB looks good, if my CMDB is up to date, I can able to perform those particular actions. So these are the basic actions, but apart from that, there are other couple of actions which we are able to perform, right? If my CMDB is correct, that we can asset management, we can run hardware or software asset management, we can check it, right? Security operations, basically that is also running on that my assets are CIS only, right? So we can also do that particular thing. So these are the particular basics things which we can do if my CMDB is accurate and consistent basically. And if you see in the right side, I just put it one example or a screenshot of that dependency map. So if you see in the between, that is a Windows server, and that is my upstream application, and that is my downstream, right, components basically. So upstream, what is running on that particular Windows server, we can see one IIS web server is running on it, right? One is MSFT SQL instance is running on it, one is SQL server analysis running on it, and on top of it, my web server, there is one website running on it, right? That is, everything is going to be discovered by ServiceNow out of the box. Only we required the required access and the prerequisite should be enabled for that. And the downstream, we are able to see that that is going to be connected with one of the network connect adapter, right? Then it's going to be connected with the disk, and disk have two drives basically. One is a C drive and one is disk partition 0. Right, so that information is going to be captured by Discovery automatically, and it's create the relationships. The arrow which you're able to see, which is connecting to that each another component, that have a relationships, and the relationships types also there, right? Might be that just take an example of it, like Windows server is runs that particular application is runs on that particular Windows server, right? And that it's connecting the database, so it's there is some different relationships type. If it is connected to the disk and the network, that is something different relationships types. So we are going to be learn about more of how many different type of relationships types we have it, what is the use of it, and what is accurate and what is required to use if we want to create a manual relationships as well. Like now you can see these are coming from the discovery, but might be that Windows server have connected to a logical applications. Example, Airtel Payments Bank or Airtel app, right? That is logical name of my application. So somehow I just need to create a manual relationships as well to showcase the way on which Airtel which servers is using my Airtel apps. Right, so I can create a logical relationships as well in the CMDB rel CI table to connect a runs on runs relationships with that particular Windows server. Right, So we'll discuss on those things. Let me go to the next slide. Now, how many types of discovery we have available in ServiceNow? So basically, we have two types of discovery, horizontal and vertical. So
Hey, Jay, sorry to interrupt you. I could not able to see your screen. So are you sharing anything? Or?
yes, of course. Is this the case, guys?
It's visible for us.
I got. I don't know. Like, let me relog in.
Yeah, please. So let's wait for one moment only. So any questions in that, guys? Which two slides I have covered now till now? I hope it's VG with the live CID something.
Yeah, it's Kumar here.
So you rejoined back?
I rejoined. Yeah, I could able to see now.
Okay, fine. So let's get started again. So there are two types of discovery basically. One is horizontal discovery and one is vertical discovery. Now we just need to understand the difference between these two, right? So horizontal discovery performs horizontal. It's try to discover device in horizontal way, which means it's trying to find out device on your network and several attributes about those device, including operating systems, software, memory, and so on. And it's also established relationships between the application and the device and between applications, right? But it does not draw the relationships between CI that are part of a specific business service. So I hope you are getting my point. Basically, in the last slide, if just showcase you, it will try to discover the device. It will create that type of relationships, but it will not create relationships that is specific to any business service or application service, right? That is done by vertical discovery, and we also called top to down discovery, and we also called service mapping, right? So vertical discovery, which is a technique used by service mapping, find and map the CI that are part of business service in your organization, such as email service, right? Service mapping actually utilize horizontal discovery to find devices in scanning and classification phases, and top to down discovery to map business service. So let me give an example here. So first of all, for vertical discovery, that is mandatory. Your horizontal discovery is completed on those particular devices. Now, customer ask, reach out to you and ask to map email service, right? So can anyone let me know if I just want to ask, if I just want to create a email business service and create a service map, anyone, any idea what component or what information I will ask to customer to do that? Anyone? Okay, I take silence as a no. So basically, while we are doing service mapping or vertical discovery, we are just trying to assess the information about, what is the entry point for it. I'm just giving the basics things. We'll cover, more in later sessions while we are starting the service mapping, but we will ask customer what is the entry point of it, from where the application is started. If I an example of Airtel apps, right? So it's a browser based application and it's APK or iOS version application as well, right? So let's talk about browser based. So if you want to do anything with the Airtel app, you just need to go www.airtel.com, right? Then you have to log in on that particular portal, and you are able to see the complete information about you if you have Airtel connections or broadband connection or anything, right? You can see the billing informations, you can see what connections I have running, and if you want to raise anything, you can also raise the issues from there itself, right? So what is the entry point for it? How you are accessing? You are accessing from www.airtel.com, right? And you just know about that key I'm accessing from that, but actually when you are accessing that one, that is going to be connect one of the load balancer which is running in Airtel side or any customer side, right? It's that immediately once you reached out, that transaction reach out to that particular thing, and it's going to be connect with the web servers there, and it's going to be connect with the database or application servers and storage and all, right? The same way we are just trying to do a complete mapping for a complete service or business service or application service in vertical discovery, right? So it will give me a holistic view or an architecture view of that particular service, right? And horizontal discoveries just give me the information about of that particular CI, only one CI, right? It's giving for one CI and it's giving for one business service. That is the difference, basically horizontal and vertical discovery. I hope
So it means that like if we call to means telecom company, and for example Airtel, they have one-to-one number. If I call them, they will give the option to dial for prepaid, postpaid, and other things. It's kind of a horizontal discovery. Then vertical is that we are going to the specific one, like whether it's a billing related issues or recharge related issues or the node signal. It's kind of that one.
exactly. Right. So horizontal discovery, we are going to be discover the complete infrastructure, right? But when we are talking about vertical, we have to be very specific related to their services. Right. So you just take an example of telecommunication. So telecommunication have lots of things, right? So one is support system, one is your mobile recharge, right? One is your billing information, one is broadband, one is TV or fiber, right? So for each thing, for each type of service, you can create different business service, and definitely or they are going to be connected with the different type of devices and different type of uh, devices, basically with different type of components, right? So that is there. So when we are discussing with the customer, we are going to understand what is the critical applications for you, or what is the critical applications business services you have, that we are going to be map here, right? Then that's why I mentioned ki we need to be asked the specific entry point for that, from where your application is starting, right? So as I give an example of www.airtel.com, that is regular example, but if I just going to be airtel.com itself, 4 or 5 services itself, right? One is related to your Airtel postpaid connections, where you can see the all billing informations, right? One is specific to your broadband connection, where you can see the utilization of your broadband and that related informations. One is related to your prepaid and connections, right? One is related to your customer care or hello tunes and other applications, right? One is for extreme Airtel extreme application, right? So different have different one business have multiple business services, right? And then we are going to be map that particular component or devices under one business service. That is all about service mapping and vertical discovery. Okay, I think I hope.
So which means we have to have a horizontal discovery implemented first, right? Before vertical discovery.
Right. If your horizontal discovery is not there, then you're no use of your vertical discovery. Definitely vertical discovery is also doing the same thing first. As I mentioned here, if you see, that is going to utilize the horizontal discovery. So if your horizontal discovery is not there, it's not mean you cannot run the vertical discovery. You can, but again, it's going to run the horizontal discovery on that device first, and then it will go for vertical discovery only. Right? So that's why we are just pushing customers first of all complete your horizontal discovery, because while you are doing vertical discovery, you are not sure which component and which CI part of that particular part, application service or business service. So if your discovery is already completed, your prereq is already done, then your vertical discovery is little bit smooth to do that. Otherwise, then if you don't done your horizontal discovery and if you want to implement directly service mapping, then you have to do the discovery again. And it vertical discovery also going to discover first of all that devices created CIs in the CMDB, and then it will go for that next steps to be create the relationships for that particular business service or application service. Okay, let me move to the next slide now. I think let's skip this slide for now. Let me, okay. So let me just give you that, little bit overview of discovery architecture. If you are able to see in my left hand side, you can see ServiceNow CMDB. In right hand side, we have cloud, AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud, cloud data centers basically. And this is my internal network. Right, and internal network we have mid servers. Mid server going to be connected with that type of devices which we have available are internally, like network gears, network type of devices. Server by OS means basically Windows Server, Linux Server, AIX, anything. Printers we have, UPS and PDUs we have, storage and database we have, on-prem data centers like VMware or Nutanix or Hyper-V we have. How that is connecting to my mid server, and how that is going to be connected with the firewall, and then transferring the data to ServiceNow CMDB, right? So that is logical, or if I say that is the architecture of discovery basically. So each thing which is internally of that customer network, right, is going to be connect with mid servers, and mid server will transferring the data through firewalls or the network proxy to our ServiceNow CMDB. And there are a couple of other protocols or communications will be there, like we are mid server only connecting to ServiceNow on HTTP port 443. It's one-way communication. One way basically mid server is connecting to ServiceNow. ServiceNow is not connecting to mid server. So while we are, asking some permissions to customer network team, we are asking my mid server is XYZ IP, and I need to connect with ServiceNow xyz.service-now.com, enable the port 443. So that is one-way communication. Second thing, REST APIs is there, and third is SSH, SNMP, PowerShell. These are the protocols, right? So those particular devices, which is part of the customer environment, will be connecting to mid server on that particular protocol. So means port SSH will be connecting on port 22 related to Linux devices, SNMP is network devices, port 161. PowerShell is for Windows devices, WinRM, WMI is for Windows devices. SIM and web is required for storage devices, right? So that is connecting to my mid server. And here, if you see, I not use the mid server here on AWS directly connecting to ServiceNow CMDB, but it depends, right? Because AWS is in my basically AWS is in on cloud itself, and ServiceNow is also cloud itself, so that can directly connect to each other, right? But if we want to do mid server for the security reasons, we can also install mid server on AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud, and then we can bypass the traffic through mid servers to directly ServiceNow, right? So that is also possible. And lots of people asking like how it's going to be secure, right? So it's secure and outbound connection only on 128 and 260-bit SSL communications to a specific ServiceNow application, complying with the strict corporate and regulatory standards. Basically, If why we put mid server here as a middleware to connect with ServiceNow, and that is again internal, right? And it's going to be crossed by the firewalls or the network proxy to reach out to ServiceNow. That's why we put it for the security regions, outbound connection, and which is going to be connected to ServiceNow on port 443 only. These internal devices, it's going to connect to the mid server only. So we are not pushing anything from ServiceNow to the mid servers to get that information, right? So that's why it's secure. It's a one-way communication. It's outbound communication only, which is happening from the mid server to ServiceNow. And any questions in that particular slide, basically, guys? Now, in next slides, we are going to be discuss deep what is firewall, what is network proxy, what type of network gears and those particular type of devices we have, what is a pre-rack, what is all about. We are going to be discuss deep on those things.
So we will know, you'll show us, right, about, you said mid server communicates on port 443, all that when we are installing the mid server, that will be more clearer, right?
Definitely, definitely. We'll showcase you. So I can feel and I can understand the first couple of sessions will be a little bit boring because I just want to clear and the basic concept before moving out to that practical things or installing directly. If I start installing mid server directly to showcase you, you're not able to get it. Why you're installing mid server? What is the use of it, right? I'm just going to be give the basic concept clarifications and then we'll move out on those particular things. Okay, so let me move
So
to
this is for the top to down, like where we are finding that business applications like network gear and means server by OS and the printers. So we can say that like is for the top to down discovery.
no, it's for horizontal discovery.
Okay.
It's architecture for horizontal discovery. Top to down discovery architecture will be complete different.
Okay. Because actually I thought we are going to the specific one. Yeah. Thanks for letting me.
Yeah, that is for horizontal. And end of the day, if I say communication happening to the mid servers, the same way vertical discovery or top to down discovery, communication happening through the mid servers only, and communication happening to these devices only, right? So most of the things will be the same, but only the architecture diagram will be changed, right? So there we are more focusing on the business services. So if I say we'll replace the network gears, discover servers by with the business service names. Example, Airtel app, XYZ, ABC, that will be the change. And under that, you will see the complete architecture of that particular business service. Okay, let me move to the next things. Pre-req of the discovery. So first of all, we required discovery plugins. Right, discovery plugin name is com.snc.discovery. And when we are enabling that particular discovery plugin, we can first of all we can enable on the sub prod instances mostly from ourselves as well. But on the prod instance, we have to reach out to ServiceNow account manager to enable that particular plugin, or might be while you're working on any implementations and you get the instance access, the plugins will already activated because customer while purchasing the ServiceNow instance, that ServiceNow account manager who are responsible for that will do each and everything by default for that instance once you received it, right? But while the ServiceNow plugin is going to be activated, there are two plugin will be activating by default. One is cloud provisioning and governance core plugin, and second is ITOM licensing. So cloud provisioning and governance core plugin will help out for our cloud discoveries, and ITOM licensing will help out to see the license, what license we have used available for ITOM or discovery basically, and how many we can use. So that will give the information about that basically, right? Second is we required mid server. So what is mid server? What is the configuration we required? We'll discuss in the next slides. Third is port to be open on the firewall networks, right? So we need to be do communication to our ServiceNow instance, and the same way we need to do communications from mid server to the target device which we want to be discovered. That we need to be enable the communication between through the network firewalls. Then fourth is credentials. Now, once we have mid server and firewall network setup, credentials is required to log in to target device which we want to be discover, but we are not directly logging, right? We are that will be logged in, or that will be logged in by the ServiceNow just to capture the informations from that particular device and put it to ServiceNow CMDB. So the access will not like that. You have your laptop and we give you the credentials and you can log in. No, that will not happening. We are not doing in that way. Right. So these are the four things which we have to be take care while we are working for discovery. If you see, there is no CMDB plugin, right? Why? Because that is coming out of the box with the ITSM. If customer have ITSM or standard out of the box instance, that he will get that particular CMDB plugin by default. So there is no plugin required to be installed for CMDB, or I think CSDM as well. Right. So that is the plugins. Next slide. Before we begin the discovery, right, what we needs to be take care. First is verify the users who are expected to configure and execute discovery in network have the discovery underscore admin role. This role grants the table in the discovery application. Now, I'm not sure, but what is happening nowadays when I'm implementing basically with that particular customers, when we are starting, when we are doing the customer workshops with the customer to understand their assess the information about the discovery. Sorry. Customer will give first of all that instances details to us, that this is my dev, this is my test, this is my prod, and he will give that he will onboard us on that particular instance with our username, and we will get the access, right? Earlier what is happening, we will get the admin access most of the devices or most of the instances, right? So we can log in and we have admin, we can do that. But now customer is going to be more specific on which module you are going to be worked on it, and they will provide you the specific role related to that particular module, right? So it doesn't mean if you he is not going to be allow you to touch another module of that particular implementations. Might be there is a big team which is working on it. So if you are part of discovery team, you will get discovery admin role, and make sure if you are part of discovery, you should have discovery admin role. And if you are working on the CMDB, you should have CMDB admin role as well. So that role should be required to work on discovery and CMDB part. We will discuss other rules later, what other rules is available in the related to CMDB and discovery, but that is start to work on that particular things, right? Then second thing, as I mentioned, you required a designated computer to host the mid server. So designated computers means that will be provided by a customer, a virtual machine or a physical machine where your mid application you can install and that can run. End of the day, mid server is nothing. In simple words, if I say mid server is an application which we can run on your laptop, or sorry, on your Windows server or the Linux server. If let's take an example, you have your Dell laptop, right? Mostly, right? So if you are installing OS, Windows OS, right? Still you are saying computer. And if you are running, if you are installing Linux OS on your Dell laptop, still you are saying computer. End of the day, that is computer. The same way, we change the terminology here. We try to call mid server, but mid server is nothing. Mid server or mid just an application which we are installing on a Windows server or a Linux host machine to connect with to act as a middleware to ServiceNow to that devices which we want to be discovered, right? And it's a Java based application. Third is gather the login credentials that mid server must use to access to device it is to expect it to discover. That credentials we required basically which which target device which we want to be discovered, so we can access those particular things and we can need to create those particular credentials in the ServiceNow discovery ServiceNow credentials table, right? Specific to Windows, specific to Linux, specific related to or other types of devices, right? So that we required to collect. And fourth is the most important thing, determine which IP addresses discovery must scan. We need to be understand from the customer which IP addresses which we want to be discovered, right? Or might be it's a IP ranges or comma separated IPs or individual IPs of the devices which we want to be use and which we want to be collect from the customer, and then we have to create a couple of different discovery schedules, right? And also it depends whatever the customer provided to you, we are going to be discover those particular IP ranges. It does not discover, or ServiceNow discovery does not discover outside of those IP ranges or the IPs whatever provided by ServiceNow, or sorry, whatever provided by the customer, my bad. So any questions in that one?
So Ajay, I have a question with regards to the plugin installation. So for
Mhm.
ITSM, it is license based, right? There's a limit for the ITIL roles and things. So do we have any limit when we subscribe to
Yeah,
Discovery module?
definitely plugins license will be there 100%. It depends, like if your customer purchase for 100 device or 100 licenses to discover, so limit will
Okay.
be there, but it doesn't mean ki your discovery is going to be stopped. No, your discovery is running, but end of the day customer need to be managed. That's why I mentioned specifically for ITOM licensing plugin will be activated here, this one that will capture the all informations key, how many licenses is you purchase from ServiceNow and how many you are using from ServiceNow discovery. In the ServiceNow discovery, the licensing will be calculated per node basis for physical devices, network devices, and storage. It's not calculating for virtual machines, first of all. Right? That my understanding, in which I heard couple of times, but uh, I that is something debatable. We can say topic related to ITOM licensing, right? And
Okay.
if someone asks me related to cost of it, that is also again a debatable, right? So, but basically, as per the ServiceNow standard, what he mentioned, license will be per node basis, per
Okay.
device basis, right? So let's take an example. Customer given 200 IPs, okay, and we discovered 200 IPs, but customer purchased 100 licenses only. So automatically in their item licensing plugin or view, you able to see customer purchase 100 and you use 200 licenses. So customer will get bill from the service now on the next quarter or monthly next quarter, I think, for 200 IPs if that all are the unique device. It's again a
Okay.
case. It should be unique. It should be a per node basis, and it should be physical devices, network devices, and the storage. Those that for that license will be calculated. No, not for virtual machines, basically.
Okay. Okay,
Okay,
Ajay.
so that will be calculating based on that. Any questions in that one, guys? Anyone else?
So I believe there would be documentation on the same, right, with regards to Discovery licensing and
Okay, that is
uh,
there. That is there. You can easily find out on ServiceNow docs.
sure, sure.
Or if you require, I will share on that particular group as well. Give me some
Okay.
time.
Yeah. First step is determining the number of licenses that we need, right, to purchase the ITOM.
See, that
Uh,
That is not our call basically. It should be by the customer, right? Who want to be implement the ServiceNow discovery, because he knows how many devices we have in our environment or our network, right? He have that informations, he have the baseline. He is going to purchase the discovery licensing from the ServiceNow directly. You're not going to be involved in the purchasing of the license,
Okay, got it.
right? Because you are not part of, you are just going for implement. If you are part of the customer team itself, like, I'm working as a product team directly, so you are part of that one, might be the, in that case you are going to be involved, like just try to assess the informations, how many devices we have, physical network or the storage and all, right? Just give me that information and then we'll check out with the service now how the licensing will work, and based on that we can purchase the licensing. But that information will be assessed by ServiceNow or customer directly to understand, and based on that licenses will be purchased.
Okay, got it. Great, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Any questions in that slide? Okay. Let me go to the next slide now. Okay, before going to the next slide, I just want to share how the things working in the customer side. Let's take an example. We need to implement the CMDB and discovery. Okay. You're working with some of the implementation partner. Your project manager comes to you, Arati or Sajid, we have new implementation project for ServiceNow discovery and our CMDB implementation, right? And you are going to be aligned on that project, and that is going to be start by next week. Okay, you get that information. First of all, try to ask the first thing from the your project manager or your management, or who are reaching out to you to involve in that particular project, is SOW. SOW is scope of work. So in SOW, you will get the information about what you exactly need to do, right? Means as a developer or as a architect or as a business process consultant, you need to ask that one to understand what exactly, because I just say and come to you and say discovery needs true or CMDB needs true, that will not justify it, right? Because CMDB and discovery, lots of things we have. So we need to understand from that our project manager or to the management what exactly we need to do and what is SOW, what is scope of work. And scope of work, the things mentioned clearly, like you have to do discovery of 200 devices, that are the device type. Basically you have to create the IRE, identification and reconciliation engine rules or mechanism. You have to build the data model, and the data model looks like in that particular format. You have to be create that the architecture diagram, HLD or LLD you have to be built in, because what I'm talking about, that couple of things you have to be performed before your implementation will be started. Then if you design the correct things, if you understand the correct things, your implementation going to in good manner, right? So just try to assess that first thing while you're going to be implement, right? Now second thing is, when you reached out to your project manager or management introduce you to your customer, this is your customer where you have to be worked on it. And once the intro section is session is done and everything is done, you are trying to understand if as a discovery representative might be discovery stakeholders from the customer side, CMDB stakeholder from customer side. Customer side is going to be involved in that, right? So you have to be assess the current situation of the customer in the first 2 or 3 workshops, basically, right? What you are trying to assess, like as per SOW you have the information, right? But try to ask from the customer as well, what type of devices you have, how you are managing your CMDB, what attributes you are managing, look attributes you are managing your CMDB.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Sajid, but I think Ajay lost.
Yeah, I think we lost it.
So